Um, I originally came to Southeast Asia. I moved to Singapore as a football coach. I'm a UEFA qualified football coach. So I came to Singapore about, I think, 10, 12 years ago. And then I was offered a role with Arsenal in Vietnam. So I came to coach in Vietnam. I started to work more. I worked a lot in football business and coaching when I was in Scotland. I worked for Kenny Moyes, who's Davy Moyes' brother. Davy Moyes was at Everton at the time. So I had a lot of contacts in football then. And I wanted an opportunity to test myself more and go overseas. I'd won a lot of youth football tournaments, under 18s, under 14s for youth teams. And I had an opportunity to coach one of the youth teams in England. But because I got the offer to come to Singapore, I wanted to test myself where I had to work harder in Southeast Asia. So I came out here, then ended up with Arsenal. I moved from Arsenal to go to help assist develop a football academy here. I also came in, and because of my master's degree in sports management, I started to get more involved in the business side of football. Now, as well as being a qualified coach, I am also a qualified football scout. So I was scouting. I got asked to scout for AS Roma and Valencia across Southeast Asia. It was just before COVID. So Yaya was leaving the club that he was at in China, and he wanted to stay in Southeast Asia. Well, he wanted to stay in Asia, and he wanted to move to Southeast Asia. So one of the biggest problems that I had trying to find Yaya a club was, it wasn't because people didn't know who he was. It wasn't because he was getting old, even though he's still younger than a lot of players that are still playing today. When I spoke, I hope you understand, I cannot say the names of these clubs, but I can say that I spoke to clubs in the Malaysia Super League. I spoke to teams in the Philippines. I spoke to 3 clubs in the V.League. So I generally spoke to quite a few clubs across Southeast Asia. The problem was that they didn't think that Yaya would come to play for them. Whereas I had the conversation with Yaya, and I spoke to him for maybe over an hour on the phone. And he basically said that he'd made all the money that he needs to make in football. He just wanted to enjoy himself. He loves being in Asia. He wanted to come to Southeast Asia to continue playing. He thought that he was more than capable. I believed that he was more than capable also. But then COVID came along, and so he wasn't able to speak to anyone. He wasn't able to travel. There was a club in the Indian Super League that were interested in him going to them. But the problem was that the Indian Super League at the time, like many of the countries across Asia, the matches were being played in a centralized area, similar to the Suzuki Cup, where all the league matches in India were being played in select areas. So he wasn't able to travel out to there because of that. The league had been shortened down, and that wasn't what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a contract for a couple of years and play at a club, which would then help him merge into being a coach, because his biggest idea was to move into coaching. So it was about trying to find him a club where he could be a player and then go into coaching, which many of the Southeast Asian clubs couldn't promise, they couldn't guarantee. There was a club in the A-League in Australia that were very, very interested. It was, I would say, almost a done deal, and I was happy that it was finished, even through COVID. But then there was a fresh outbreak in Australia, and then they closed the borders, and he couldn't travel into the country. So now Yaya is training. I got him on to finish his coaching courses with the Welsh FA, because I work a lot for the Welsh FA. I work as a coach educator for the Welsh FA here in Vietnam, across Southeast Asia. So I got him on his course in Wales. He is now at Tottenham Hotspur, coaching their youth teams at Spurs in London. It was, I would say, it's probably round about the same as what Nguyễn Quang Hải is on, maybe just a little bit less. It wasn't a lot of money, especially over the length of the season. What was being asked was not a lot of money. Certainly it's a lot less money than what he's used to. It's more money than we get. It would be more money than we get paid, but for him it was considerably less. I think if you imagine that he had a deal with Puma for 2.3 million, Barcelona were huge in comparison to this. I would say that we're probably looking at about 5 to 7% of what he was getting paid in Spain. So it was massively different. What was interesting and what was nice, the great thing about Yaya is that, and I would repeat this again, that he said the money wasn't important for him. He just wanted to be happy. And the money he appreciated and he understood, because of COVID, that clubs didn't have as much money at the moment. He understood all of that. For him, he just wanted to play. He just wanted to continue playing. And so the money wasn't a big aspect for him. A perfect example is when I speak to people from Nam Dinh, Ben Nhung, Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon FC, Da Nang, and they always say that, oh, but Vietnamese football isn't that popular, and people don't want to go to Vietnam games. And I say, well, if you look at the crowds that Nam Dinh get, Ho Chi Minh City get large crowds. So there's no reason why Saigon FC cannot have large crowds as well. And I always felt that many times when I spoke to Vietnamese clubs, I was speaking better. No, maybe that's the wrong way to say, but I was complimenting the clubs more than they realized. I was talking about how big these clubs already are on social media, how successful these clubs can be. The thing that always upsets me, because if you look at the Vietnamese national team and then you look at the V.League, there's such a massive difference in support, in passion, and obviously that's not for all clubs. I think it was Thanh Hóa had posted a picture of Yaya Toure's face on a Thanh Hóa shirt, and the whole conversation underneath was, oh, there's no way he'll come to Vietnam. Yaya Toure won't play in Vietnam. And I was sitting reading this thinking, I've just spoke to him, I know he will. Obviously, as you're working as his agent, you cannot get involved in these conversations, but reading the comments from a lot of Vietnamese fans, that sometimes I think that they do not realize just how big a product that they actually do have, and the appeal that they have. Now, I have friends that play in the Philippines and Singapore and Cambodia, and they would love to play in the V.League. I help individual players. I do some work for some players, whether that's PR work or help them speak to clubs. But I have a lot of footballers that I have met from clubs, from all the main clubs in Cambodia, for example. They all want to come and play. And I'm talking about mainly the foreigners that play in Cambodia. they all want to come to Vietnam. Vietnam seems to be the league that they want to go to, because if they do well there, then they can go into clubs in Malaysia. So the Vietnamese league, I would prefer that the Vietnamese national team is the strongest team in Southeast Asia. It's the true Asian king, but we need to beat Thailand a few more times to be the Asian king. But we need to win the Suzuki Cup more times than Singapore first, and then beat Thailand to be the Asian king. But in order to be that, you need to have the stronger clubs as well. So we need to make the football clubs better. We need to make the league better.